If you have an itchy scalp because you have dreadlock extensions, you are in the right spot because it shouldn't be itchy, and I'm gonna show you how to fix it right now. So there's 4 main reasons why your scalp might be itchy because of your dreads. So watch through the end of the video just in case you have a combination of these 4. But the first thing we're going to talk about is tension bumps. So tension bumps are when there's too much weight on the follicles. So whether that's the section being too small or the dread being too heavy, there's just too much weight going on for your scalp to be able to handle it. So tension bumps will pop up if there's too much weight. It'll be little red bumps that are really itchy and irritating, and if you scratch them then they could start to hurt really bad. So if you have tension bumps, you'll definitely notice the little red bumps that you've got on your head. And if that's what's causing the itch, then what I would suggest you do is maybe take your dreads out, give it a couple days to just rest, and then when you put them back in, don't put them in so tight. Braid them a little bit looser, make your sections a little bit bigger. That way the hair has more strands to be able to hold on to that same weighted dread, basically. So instead of having a dread that's going off of this size section, this is pretty big for me because I tend to get tension bumps right here. So if I do sections that are too small in the front, I'll get really bad tension bumps. But for example, if this section was too small, when I do my move up, I would make this section be bigger, or I would use a smaller dread. If tension bumps weren't your issue, then the next most common problem is gonna be buildup. Buildup is when your scalp is basically super dirty. Just kidding. Not gross, but basically it can be kind of challenging to wash your scalp really, really well when you have dreadlocks. Buildup can be caused from just like normal, like the oils on your head not being washed off well enough. It could also be like your dead skin getting stuck in the dreads, or basically like in your sections because they can't fall out like normal, or your scalp isn't being scrubbed well enough in the shower, or maybe you're using the wrong products on your dreads. There's a lot of reasons for buildup, but all buildup is buildup, and basically it's just causing irritation on your scalp. All you have to do is just wash your head. So when you're in the shower, just wash your scalp really, really well with a good shampoo that you prefer. And then for future reference, to try and avoid buildup, what I would suggest is limit the amount of products that you're actually putting on your scalp. I don't use any kind of conditioner or leave-in products at all. The only things that I use for my dreads is shampoo when I'm in the shower, and then an oil for later. So the flip side of that coin, instead of having too much buildup, you could have this next problem of having too dry of a scalp. If you have really, really dry skin anywhere on your body, it's gonna get really flaky and you're gonna wanna scratch it off, right? So if you have dry skin, your scalp is gonna get flaky and you're gonna wanna be scratching it off, and because of your sections and your dreads, that skin can't actually fall off your head. And I know that might sound really gross, but I'm here to help you not have an itchy scalp, and this is one of the main reasons. So when I have this problem, if my scalp is ever really dry, all that I do is add a really good oil to it. So I like to use this Moroccan oil. You can probably use any kind of oil. What I like to do is I'll put 1 pump at a time typically. I'll put 1 pump into my fingertips, not into my whole hands, but just into my fingertips. So it's just like shiny right there. And then wherever the problem is I'm just gonna put my fingertips right there, kind of thing. And just kind of like lightly press the oil into my scalp. And I like to think that what this is doing is obviously hydrating my hair. It's always gonna be good for my hair. But also the skin on my scalp is going to get this oil also. And so it's going to help with all the flakiness. This might add to buildup. So you want to find that balance and find what your problem actually is. So that's why I would suggest scrubbing your scalp really, really well. Make sure that you don't have a bunch of buildup and have that be what's causing the problem. And if that's not causing the problem, then try the oil on your scalp. Typically, for me at least, having my dreads in, I actually have a lot of my natural oils able to come out and just kind of stay and sit on my hair, which is really, really nice. But depending on the weather and where you live and just your skin type in general, you might have more susceptible to dry scalp versus oily scalp. So if you have dry scalp, use a good oil, just rub it through with your fingertips as much as needed. You really can't go overboard with this because worst case scenario, you just have to take a shower. You know what I mean? It's not that big of a deal. At the end of the day, if you don't have a problem with tension bumps, buildup, or having a dry scalp, the last place to check for why you have an itchy scalp is going to be the dreads themselves. This is not as common, that's why I put it last, but it is still a factor that you have to consider. Depending on the type of dreads that you have and the material that they're made out of, that could cause a lot more irritation and itchiness than others. Like if you think about it, if you are sleeping on a wool pillowcase versus a silk pillowcase, one of them is going to be softer than the other. So if you have synthetic dreads versus like human hair versus wool versus, you know, there's so many different kinds of materials to make dreadlocks out of. If the kind of dreads that you have is typically an itchy material, it could be the dreads themselves. It could also be the way that the dreads were made. It could be nothing to do with the material, but just the technique of dreading the hair itself could be causing more itchiness. For example, let me show you what I'm talking about. So this dread, I don't know if you can see this, it's really twisted. I don't understand how it's not untwisting, but it's pretty much twisted. There's dreads out there where basically it's just crocheted, where it's like they'll put their needle in and pull the ends out. So it's just like a bunch of little ends of your hair poking out, and that's gonna be a lot more irritating if you have a bunch of tiny little hairs poking at you versus just hair that's twisted, that's laying on your head. So that is gonna be probably a really big culprit if you have problematic dreads. My advice here would be honestly just invest in a different set, because I don't know how you fix that if the dreads were manufactured in a way that is going to cause you irritation and itchiness. It's gonna not go away. Basically, you can do all of the things. You can put, you know, oil on your scalp, you can section them the right amount for the weight, and you can really wash your head when you're in the shower, but you could do all of these things. And if you have dreads that are manufactured in a way that causes them to be itchy, there's not going to be much way around that. Fifth and surprise tip that I just thought about is your dreads themselves could be too dirty. So when I do my move ups, in between, I take my dreads out and then I wash my dreads really well. I wash my scalp really well separately, and then I reinstall the dreads. So if you haven't done like a deep wash of your dreads in a while, that could also be a problem, because there could be buildup or just like, you know, irritants in the dreads themselves, and then putting that up on your scalp could cause problems. At the end of the day, you really just don't want your head to be itchy. So if you need to, just take your dreads out, give your scalp a break, and just let it rest, and then put them back in and try again. Let me know in the comment section if these tips helped you, if one or a few of them helped you. I know I've used all of them at some point. So let me know where you're at in your dread journey and how these are helping you. And if you have other questions that I can answer in other videos, I would love to know and love to help you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more dread content to make your life that much easier. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.